When 8-year-old Melody sent a cheerful camping selfie to her mum, it should have been a sweet moment. Instead, it became a mother's worst nightmare. Iris zoomed in on her daughter's photo and saw something chilling in the background, what looked like small graves with wooden crosses hidden behind the trees. Her parents weren't answering their phones, and her imagination raced with terrifying possibilities. Driving frantically through dark mountain roads, Iris was desperate to reach her daughter before it was too late. But the truth behind those mysterious crosses would shock her more than any danger she had imagined. What was really lurking behind those trees that terrified a mother so completely? And would these stunning revelations tear this family apart or bring them closer than ever? Melody Ashworth held up her phone and smiled her biggest smile. The morning sun made everything look perfect at Pine Ridge Campground. Behind her, tall green trees stretched up to the blue sky like nature's own castle walls. "Come on, phone, work right," she whispered, trying to get the camera to focus. At 8 years old, Melody was still learning how to take good pictures with the simple phone her mom had given her. "Just for emergencies and to call us," Mom had said when she handed it over. But Melody thought sending happy pictures to Mom counted, as important too. She tried holding the phone different ways. First up high, then down low, then right in front of her face. The trees behind her campsite looked so pretty in the morning light. She wanted Mom to see how beautiful everything was. "Grandpa Walter, look at me," she called out. Her grandfather looked up from the campfire he was building. His kind eyes crinkled when he smiled. "Taking another picture for your mom?" "Yes, I want to show her our campsite. It's the most beautiful place ever." Grandma Rose poked her head out of their big green tent. Her silver hair was a little messy from sleeping, but she looked happy. "That's sweet, honey. Your mom will love seeing how much fun you're having." Melody felt proud. This was her first camping trip without Mom and Dad. Well, Dad lived far away, now since the divorce, so it was really just without Mom. But still, it felt very grown-up and important. She positioned herself carefully for the perfect shot. She wanted to show the campfire area where Grandpa was stacking wood. She wanted to show their tent where they had told stories last night. And she wanted to show the beautiful forest that surrounded their little campsite like a green hug. "Okay, phone, let's try this again," she said, holding it steady. The camera finally focused. Melody could see herself on the screen, with the campsite spread out behind her. "Perfect!" She pressed the button and heard the little click sound. "Got it," she announced proudly. Grandpa Walter chuckled as he arranged the logs. "You're getting good at that, sweetheart." Melody looked at the picture on her phone. She looked happy, and the background showed everything she wanted Mom to see. The trees, the tent, their campsite, and even a little bit of the other campsites nearby through the trees. She opened her message app and typed carefully with her small fingers. "Having the best time ever with Grandma and Grandpa. Love you, Mom," she attached the photo and hit send. The little whoosh sound meant it was on its way to Mom back home in the city. "There," Melody said, putting her phone in her pocket. "Now Mom knows we're having fun." "I'm sure she'll love it," Grandma Rose said, coming over to give Melody a hug. "Now, who wants to help me make pancakes for breakfast?" "Me! Me!" Melody jumped up and down. While Grandma Rose got out the camping stove and pancake mix, Melody felt happy all over. The morning air smelled like pine trees and fresh dew. Birds sang in the branches above their heads. Everything felt magical and special. "Grandma, can we make funny-shaped pancakes?" Melody asked. "Of course. What shapes do you want?" "Hearts, and maybe stars." "Oh, and can we make one that looks like a puppy?" Grandma Rose laughed. "We can try. I'm not sure how good I am at puppy pancakes." Grandpa Walter got his fire going and came over to watch. "I bet I could help with the puppy pancake. I'm pretty good at making animals out of things." "Really?" Melody's eyes got wide with excitement. "Really? When your mom was little, I used to make her pancakes that looked like all sorts of animals. Puppies, kittens, even elephants." Melody giggled. "Elephants are huge! How do you make an elephant pancake? Very carefully, Grandpa said with a wink. As her grandparents worked together to make breakfast, Melody felt warm and safe and loved. She pulled out her phone to check if Mom had answered her message yet, but there was no reply. Mom was probably still sleeping. It was pretty early. She put the phone away and ran to help Grandpa add more wood to the fire. The flames danced up toward the sky, and Melody watched them with wonder. "This is the best day ever," she announced, to no one in particular. She had no idea that miles away, her simple Selfie was about to turn her mom's world upside down. Back home in the city, Iris Ashworth sat at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. She kept checking her phone every few minutes, hoping for a message from Melody. This was the hardest part of being a mom. Letting go, even just a little bit. The apartment felt too quiet without Melody's chatter and laughter. Usually Saturday, mornings were filled with cartoons, pancakes, and Melody's endless questions about everything. Today, there was just silence and worry. Iris tried to stay busy. She cleaned the already clean kitchen. She organized Melody's bookshelf. She even started a load of laundry that didn't really need washing, but nothing helped the nervous feeling in her stomach. When her phone finally buzzed with a message, Iris practically jumped out of her chair. "Thank goodness," she whispered, grabbing the phone. The message was from Melody. "Having the best time. Ever with Grandma and Grandpa. Love you, Mom." Below the words was a photo that made Iris's heart fill with warmth. There was her beautiful daughter, smiling so big her whole face lit up. Melody looked happy and safe and loved. "Oh, sweetheart," Iris said out loud, as if Melody could hear her. "You look so happy." She studied the picture more carefully, wanting to see everything about her daughter's adventure. Melody's hair was a little messy from joy. Behind her, Iris could see the campsite clearly, the tent, the fire area, and the beautiful forest. Mom and Dad had picked such a nice spot for camping. Iris felt proud of her parents for giving Melody such a wonderful experience. But as she looked closer at the photo, something in the background caught her attention. Behind Melody, through the trees, she could see part of another campsite. There seemed to be something there that didn't look quite right. Iris squinted at the phone screen. Was that? She used her fingers to zoom in on the photo, making it bigger. The image got a little blurry, but she could see more details now. Behind the trees, in what looked like a clearing, there were several small mounds of dirt. Her heart started beating faster. She zoomed in more, trying to see better. The mounds looked like they had wooden crosses sticking out of them. Small wooden crosses like markers. Iris's hands began to shake. She got up from the table and moved to the window where the light was better. She looked at the photo again, zooming in as far as the phone would let her. "No, no, no," she whispered. "This can't be right." But the more she looked, the more certain she became. Those mounds looked like graves, small graves with wooden crosses, and they were right there, near where her daughter was camping with her parents. Iris's mind raced with terrible thoughts. Were there dangerous people camping near her family? Had her parents chosen an unsafe place? Was Melody in danger right now? She tried to think of innocent explanations. Maybe they were just piles of dirt from some construction work. Maybe the wooden crosses were just sticks that happened to look like crosses. But deep in her heart, she knew what she was seeing, and it terrified her. Her fingers shaking, Iris dialed her parents' cell phone number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. "Mom, Dad, please call me right away," she said after the beep. "I need to know that you and Melody are safe. Please call me as soon as you get this." She hung up and immediately called again. Straight to voicemail, in the tent, but her eyes sparkled with joy. Behind her, Iris could see the campsite clearly, the tent, the fire area, and the beautiful forest. Mom and Dad had picked such a nice spot for camping. Iris felt proud of her parents for giving Melody such a wonderful experience. But as she looked closer at the photo, something in the background caught her attention. Behind Melody, through the trees, she could see part of another campsite. There seemed to be something there that didn't look quite right. Iris squinted at the phone screen. Was that? She used her fingers to zoom in on the photo, making it bigger. The image got a little blurry, but she could see more details now. Behind the trees, in what looked like a clearing, there were several small mounds of dirt. Her heart started beating faster. She zoomed in more, trying to see better. The mounds looked like they had wooden crosses sticking out of them. Small wooden crosses like markers. Iris's hands began to shake. She got up from the table and moved to the window, where the light was better. She looked at the photo again, zooming in as far as the phone would let her. No, she whispered. This can't be right. But the more she looked, the more certain she became. Those mounds looked like graves, small graves with wooden crosses, and they were right there, near where her daughter was, camping with her parents. Iris's mind raced with terrible thoughts. Were there dangerous people camping near her family? Had her parents chosen an unsafe place? Was Melody in danger right now? She tried to think of innocent explanations. Maybe they were just piles of dirt from some construction work. Maybe the wooden crosses were just sticks that happened to look like crosses. But deep in her heart, she knew what she was seeing, and it terrified her. Her fingers shaking, Iris dialed her parents' cell phone number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. "Mom, Dad, please call me right away," she said after the beep. "I need to know that you and Melody are safe. Please call me as soon as you get this." She hung up and immediately called again, straight to voicemail. Again, voicemail, again, voicemail. "Why aren't you answering?" Iris said to the empty apartment. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" She looked at the photo one more time, zooming in on those terrible mounds in the background. Her worst fears seemed to be coming true. Something was very wrong at that campground, and her daughter was right in the middle of it. Iris ran to her bedroom and threw clothes into a bag. She grabbed her car keys, her wallet, and her phone charger. Pine Ridge Campground was 3 hours away, but she would drive as fast as safely possible. As she headed for the door, she tried calling one more time. Voicemail again. "I'm coming to get you," she said to the photo of Melody's smiling face. "Mommy's coming, baby. Just hold on." She locked the apartment and ran down the stairs to her car. Her hands were still shaking as she started the engine. All she could think about were those small wooden crosses in the background of her daughter's happy selfie. Something was very wrong at Pine Ridge Campground, and she might already be too late. Iris gripped the steering wheel tightly as she sped down the highway toward Pine Ridge Campground. Her car's speedometer showed she was going faster than she should, but she couldn't make herself slow down. Every minute that passed was another minute Melody might be in danger. She tried calling her parents again while driving, using the hands-free speaker. The phone rang and rang, then went to voicemail. "Please be okay," she whispered. "Please, please. Be okay." The highway stretched ahead of her, winding through hills and forests. Normally, Iris loved this drive. She and Melody had taken it many times to visit Grandma Rose and Grandpa Walter at their house near the mountains. But today, every mile felt like forever. As she drove, Iris couldn't stop thinking about those wooden crosses she had seen in the photo. Who would put crosses like that near a campground? What did they mark? And why weren't her parents answering their phone? Her mind went to the darkest places. She remembered news stories about missing children and dangerous people who lurked in remote camping areas. What if strangers had taken her? Family. What if those crosses marked where other terrible things had happened? "Stop it," she told herself out loud. "Don't think like that. They're fine. They have to be fine." But her hands kept shaking on the steering wheel. To calm herself down, Iris tried to think about happier times. She remembered when her parents first adopted her 28 years ago. She had been 5 years old, scared and alone, after her birth. Parents died in a car accident. Walter and Rose Chen had opened their hearts and home to her, loving her like she was born to them. They had always been protective and careful parents. They taught her to be safe, to be smart, to watch out for danger. It didn't make sense that they would put Melody at risk. But then why did those crosses look so scary in the photo? And why weren't they answering their phone? Iris thought about calling David, Melody's father. He lived across the country now, but maybe talking to him would help her feel less alone and scared. They hadn't talked much since their divorce 2 years ago, and their conversations were usually just about Melody's schedule and school. She decided against it. David would probably just think she was being an overprotective mom again. That was one of the things they used to fight about, how much to worry about Melody's safety. The road began to climb into the mountains. Iris's car worked harder as it went uphill, and she could hear the engine straining. She pressed the gas pedal harder, willing the car to go faster. "Come on," she said to the car. "Don't let me down now." She tried calling her parents one more time. Still no answer. The higher she got into the mountains, the worse the cell phone service became. Maybe that was why they weren't answering. Maybe their phone just couldn't get a signal. That thought made her feel a little better, but not much. Iris glanced at the clock on her dashboard. She had been driving for an hour and a half. Only an hour and a half more to go. But would that be fast? Enough? She thought about Melody's sweet face in that selfie. Her daughter looked so happy and innocent, completely unaware of what might be lurking in the background. Melody trusted her grandparents completely, just like Iris had trusted them when she was young. But what if that trust was misplaced? What if there were things about her parents that she didn't know? "No," Iris said firmly. "Mom and Dad would never hurt Melody. They love her as much as I do." But love couldn't always protect people from outside dangers. And those crosses in the photo definitely came from outside their family. As she rounded a sharp mountain curve, Iris heard a new sound from her car's engine. A grinding, unhappy noise that made her heart sink. "No, no, no," she said. "Not now. Please, not now." The grinding got louder. The car started to slow down, even though she was pressing the gas pedal all the way to the floor. Steam began to rise from under the hood. "This can't be happening," Iris said, panic rising in her voice. She pulled over to the side of the mountain road just as her car gave one final shudder and died completely. Steam poured out from under the hood, and the engine made terrible clicking sounds. Before going quiet, Iris sat in the sudden silence, staring at the empty mountain road ahead of her. She was still an hour away from Pine Ridge Campground, stranded on a lonely mountain road with no cell service and a broken-down car. Her daughter might be in terrible danger, and now she had no way to reach her. For the first time since this nightmare began, Iris put her head down on the steering wheel and cried. Iris cried until she had no more tears left. She sat in her broken car on the empty mountain road, feeling more helpless than she had ever felt in her life. Her daughter needed her, and she was stuck miles away with no way to help. She wiped her eyes and tried to think clearly. Maybe she could walk to the campground, but it was still more than an hour away by car, which meant it would take her many hours to walk there. And the mountain roads were dangerous for someone walking alone. She tried her cell phone again, hoping to call for help. No signal, not even one bar. Just when she thought things couldn't get any worse, she heard the sound of a truck coming up the mountain road behind her. Hope filled her heart. Maybe someone could help her. A big blue tow truck came around the curve and slowed down when the driver saw her car. The truck pulled over behind her, and a man got out. He looked to be about 50 years old, with kind eyes and work clothes that showed he knew about fixing cars. "Car trouble?" he asked, walking up to her window. Iris rolled down her window, trying not to look as scared and desperate as she felt. Yes. My engine overheated and died. I really need to get to Pine Ridge Campground. It's an emergency. The man nodded seriously. I'm Sam Rodriguez. I run the tow service for this area. Pine Ridge is about an hour from here. What kind of emergency? If you don't mind me asking, Iris hesitated. How could she explain without sounding crazy? My 8-year-old daughter is camping there with my parents, and I think they might be in danger. I tried calling them, but they won't answer their phone. Sam's face grew concerned. That doesn't sound good. Let me take a look at your car first. He popped the hood, and steam poured out. After a few minutes of checking different parts, he shook his head. I'm afraid this car isn't going anywhere today. Your radiator is cracked, and the engine is too hot. It'll need to be towed to a shop. Iris felt her heart sink again. How long will that take to fix? At least a day, maybe 2. But listen, Sam said, seeing the panic in her eyes. I can drive you to Pine Ridge myself. I was heading that way anyway to pick up another broken-down car. Really? Iris couldn't believe her luck. You would do that for a stranger? Of course. If my daughter was in trouble, I'd want someone to help me too. Sam helped Iris get her important things out of her car. As they drove toward Pine Ridge in his tow truck, Iris felt grateful, but still worried sick. Tell me more about this emergency, Sam said as they drove. Maybe I can help you figure out what's going on. Iris pulled out her phone and showed him Melody's selfie. My daughter sent me this photo this morning. Look in the background behind the trees. Sam studied the photo while keeping one eye on the road. He zoomed in just like Iris had done. I can see there's something back there, but I can't tell what it is. What do you think you're seeing? Graves, Iris said quietly. Small graves with wooden crosses, like someone buried things there. Or people. Sam was quiet for a moment. That's pretty scary if you're right. But maybe there's another explanation. Sometimes people make little markers for other reasons. Iris wanted to believe him, but she couldn't shake the fear. Why won't my parents answer their phone then? They always answer when I call. Cell service up here is terrible, Sam said. Lots of dead zones, especially in the campgrounds between. All those trees. They might not even know you're calling. That made Iris feel a little better, but not much. As they drove deeper into the mountains, Sam told her about the area. I've been working these roads for 15 years. I know Pine Ridge pretty well. It's usually a safe, family-friendly place. Usually? Iris caught the word that worried her. Sam hesitated. Well, there have been some strange folks camping in the area lately. People who keep to themselves and don't seem quite right, if you know what I mean. They set up camp in the more remote spots and don't talk to other campers. Iris's blood turned cold. What kind of strange people? I'm not sure exactly. Just different. The kind of people who make you feel uncomfortable when you see them. I've towed a few of their vehicles when they broke down, and they never seemed friendly, always acting like they had something to hide. This was exactly what Iris had been afraid of. Dangerous people camping near her family, people who might hurt innocent campers like her parents and daughter. Do you think these people could be connected to what I saw in the photo? She asked. Sam shrugged. I honestly don't know. But I think you're right to be worried. A mother's instincts are usually pretty good about danger. As they got closer to Pine Ridge Campground, Iris felt her heart beating faster. Soon she would know if her worst fears were true. Soon she would find out if her family was safe. The sun was starting to set behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and pink. Under different circumstances, Iris would have thought it was beautiful. But right now, all she could think about was reaching her daughter before it was too late. We're almost there, Sam said, pointing to a sign that read, Pine Ridge Campground, 5 miles. Iris gripped her phone tightly, ready to call for help if needed. Whatever was waiting for her at that campground, she was ready to face it to protect her family. Sam's tow truck rumbled through the entrance of Pine Ridge Campground. just as the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the mountains. The headlights cut through the growing darkness, showing empty picnic tables and quiet campsites. "Which area do you think they're in?" Sam asked, driving slowly along the main campground road. Iris studied the photo on her phone, trying to match what she saw in the background, with ethereal campground around them. "I think it's over there," she said, pointing toward a section with tall pine trees. The trees in Melody's photo looked like those. Sam turned the truck toward the area Iris had pointed to. They passed several empty campsites, their fire pits cold and dark. A few other campers were scattered around the campground, but most sites were empty. "There," Iris said suddenly. "That one. I think that's where they were camping." Sam pulled up to a campsite that looked exactly like the background in Melody's selfie. But as the truck's headlights swept across the area, Iris's heart sank. The campsite was completely empty. "No," she whispered, jumping out of the truck before Sam had even stopped completely. "No, no, no." She ran around the campsite, looking for any sign of her family. There was a fire pit with cold ashes in it, some tire tracks in the dirt, a few pieces of trash that someone had left behind. But no tent, no camping gear, and no people. "They were here," she said, kneeling down to touch the cold ashes. Someone was definitely here recently. Sam got out of his truck and looked around with her. "The ashes are still warm underneath," he said, stirring them with a stick. "Whoever was here left not too long ago." This made Iris feel even more frightened. If her family had been here recently, where were they now? And why had they left? "Maybe they just moved to a different campsite," Sam suggested, trying to make her feel better. But Iris shook her head. "My parents would never move without telling me. They know I worry, and they would have answered their phone if they could. A family camping at the next site over heard them talking and came over to see what was wrong." "Excuse me," the woman said. "Is everything okay? You look upset." Iris showed them the photo of Melody. "This is my daughter. She was camping here with her grandparents. Did you see them?" The woman studied the photo carefully. "Oh yes, I remember them. Sweet little girl with an older Asian couple, right? They seemed very nice." "Yes, that's them." Iris felt a rush of hope. "Where did they go?" The woman's husband spoke up. "We saw them earlier today, maybe around lunchtime. They packed up their stuff and headed toward that trail over there." He pointed toward a path that led into the dark forest. "A trail?" Iris's hope turned back to fear. "What trail? Where does it go?" "It's a hiking trail that goes deeper into the forest," the woman explained. "Lots of families take day hikes on it, but most people come back before dark." Iris looked at her watch. It was already past 7 o'clock, and it would be completely dark soon. "How long is the trail?" she asked. "The main loop is about 3 miles, the man said. But there are side trails that go much deeper into the woods. Some of them lead to old cabins and things like that." Sam came up beside Iris. "Maybe they're just taking their time hiking back. Older folks sometimes walk slower, especially with a young child." But Iris couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Why would they pack up all their camping gear just to go on a hike? That doesn't make sense. The camping family didn't have an answer for that. Iris walked over to the trail entrance. It disappeared into the dark forest like a black tunnel. She couldn't see more than a few feet ahead, even with Sam's truck headlights behind her. "I have to go after them," she said. "Wait," Sam said, jogging over to her. "You can't go into those woods alone at night. It's dangerous. My daughter is in there somewhere." Iris's voice was getting louder. "I have to find her." The camping family looked worried. "Maybe we should call the park rangers," the woman suggested. "They know these trails better than anyone." Sam nodded. "That's a good idea. Let's go to the campground office and report this." But Iris was already walking toward the trail. "You can call the rangers if you want. I'm going to find my family." "Iris, wait!" Sam called after her. "At least let me get you a flashlight from my truck." Iris stopped and realized he was right. She couldn't see anything in the dark forest without a light. Sam ran back to his truck and returned with a powerful flashlight. "I'm coming with you," he said, "at least for the first part of the trail." "You don't have to do that," Iris said. But she felt grateful for his offer. "Yes, I do. I told you I'd help you find your family, and I meant it." As they started down the dark trail together, Iris felt a mixture of fear and determination. Somewhere ahead in this vast forest, her daughter was depending on her to come to their rescue. The flashlight beam danced ahead of them on the narrow trail, showing twisted tree roots and dense undergrowth on both sides. Every shadow looked like it could be hiding something dangerous. "Melody!" Iris called out as loudly as she could. "Mom! Dad!" Her voice echoed through the trees, but only silence came back. They walked deeper into the forest, following the winding trail. Iris checked her phone again and again, hoping for a signal, but there were still no bars. After about 20 minutes of walking, Sam stopped and pointed ahead. "Look," he said. "There's something up there." In the distance, barely visible in the flashlight beam, they could see the dark outline of a building. "Is that one of the old cabins you mentioned?" Iris asked the question, even though Sam hadn't been the one to mention cabins. "Could be," Sam said. "Should we check it out?" Iris's heart was pounding, but she nodded. If there was any chance her family was in that cabin, she had to know. As they got closer, they could see it was indeed an old cabin, weathered and abandoned looking. But there were signs that someone had been there recently. Fresh footprints in the dirt, some trash near the door, and most frightening of all, there was a faint light flickering in one of the windows. Iris stared at the flickering light in the cabin window, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Someone was definitely inside that old building, but who? And where was her family? "Should we call out to them?" Sam whispered beside her. Iris shook her head. Something about this whole situation felt wrong. Why would her parents bring Melody to an abandoned cabin in the middle of the forest? And why wasn't there any sign of their camping gear or their car? "Let's get closer and see if we can tell who's in there," she whispered back. They crept forward carefully, trying not to make noise on the forest floor covered with dry leaves and twigs. Every step seemed to crackle loudly in the quiet night. They got closer to the cabin. Iris could see that it was very old and run down. The wood was gray and weathered, and some of the boards were loose. It looked like it hadn't been used in many years, but the light in the window proved that someone was using it now. When they were about 20 feet away, Sam grabbed Iris's arm and pointed to the ground. In the beam of his flashlight, they could see fresh footprints in the dirt around the cabin. Lots of them. Iris knelt down to look more closely. Some of the footprints were big, like adult boots. But there were smaller ones too. Child-sized footprints that could have been made by sneakers. "Melody," she whispered, touching one of the small prints. But as she studied the footprints more, something bothered her. There were too many of them, and they seemed to go in all different directions. How many people had been here? And when? Sam pointed to something near the cabin door that made Iris's blood run cold. It was a child's hair ribbon, pink with white flowers. It was lying in the dirt like someone had dropped it. Iris picked up the ribbon with shaking hands. It wasn't Melody's. Her daughter always wore blue or purple ribbons. But it proved that a child had been at this cabin recently. "We need to see." "Who's inside?" Iris said, her voice barely above a whisper. They moved closer to the window with the light. The glass was dirty and cracked, but they could see through it enough to make out shapes inside. There was definitely someone in there. Iris could see a figure moving around, but the light was too dim and the window too dirty to tell who it was. "Hello?" she called out softly, not wanting to scare whoever was inside. The movement in the cabin stopped immediately. The light went out. Iris and Sam stood in the sudden darkness, holding their breath. Had whoever was inside heard them? Were they hiding now? After a few minutes of silence, Sam whispered, "Maybe we should go back and get the park rangers." But Iris couldn't leave. What if Melody was in that cabin? What if her daughter needed her right now? "I'm going to knock on the door," she said. "Iris, that might not be safe," Sam warned. But Iris was already walking toward the cabin door. Her fear for her own safety was nothing compared to her need to find her daughter. She raised her hand to knock, but before she could, she heard a sound that made her freeze. From somewhere inside the cabin came a voice, a child's voice, crying. "Mommy," the voice said. "I want my mommy." Iris's heart nearly stopped. That sounded like a young child, scared and alone. It didn't sound exactly like Melody, but in her panic, Iris couldn't be sure. "Baby!" she called through the door. "Melody, is that you?" The crying stopped immediately. Everything went silent again. Iris tried the door handle. It was unlocked. Her hand trembling, she slowly pushed the door open. The cabin was dark inside, now that the light had been turned off. She couldn't see anything. "Hello?" she called into the darkness. "Is anyone there? I'm looking for my daughter." No answer. Sam came up behind her with the flashlight. "Let me shine this inside." The flashlight beam swept across the inside of the cabin, and what they saw made Iris gasp. The cabin looked like people had been living in it, but not in a normal way. There were old blankets on the floor, empty food cans scattered around, and clothes hanging from nails in the walls. Most disturbing of all, there were children's toys on the floor. A doll with dirty hair, some toy cars, and crayons scattered everywhere. But there was no one inside. Whoever had been there was gone. "Where did they go?" Iris said, stepping into the cabin. "I heard a child crying just a minute ago." Sam shined his light around the room more carefully. "There's a back door," he said, pointing to the far wall. "They must have gone out that way when they heard us coming." Iris ran to the back door and threw it open. Beyond it was more dark forest, with no sign of which direction the people had gone. "Melody!" she shouted into the night. "Melody! If you're out there, it's Mommy! Come back!" Her voice echoed through the trees, but no one answered. Sam put his hand on her shoulder. "Iris, I don't think your daughter was in this cabin." "But I heard a child crying," she said, tears starting to fall down her cheeks. "I heard it too. But think about it. Would your parents really bring Melody to a place like this? This looks like where homeless people or runaways might stay, not where grandparents would take their granddaughter." Iris knew he was right, but she felt so lost and confused. If Melody wasn't here, where was she? And who was the child they had heard crying? As they searched through the cabin one more time, looking for any clues about where her family might have gone, Iris began to face a terrible possibility. Maybe she had been wrong about everything. Maybe the danger she thought she saw in Melody's photo wasn't real. Maybe her parents and daughter were perfectly safe somewhere else, and she was just a scared, overprotective mother who had panicked for nothing. But if that was true, where were they? And why weren't they answering their phone? As Sam helped her search the cabin for any sign of her family, Iris felt more lost and frightened than ever. The dark forest seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, and her daughter felt farther away than ever. Iris and Sam finished searching the empty cabin, but found no clues about where her family might have gone. The children's toys and the crying voice haunted Iris's thoughts. Who had been living in this abandoned place? And where had they disappeared to so quickly? "We should head back," Sam said gently. "Maybe your family returned to the campground while we were out here." Iris wanted to believe that, but deep down she felt like something was still very wrong. As they left the cabin and started back down the dark forest trail, she kept calling Melody's name every few minutes. "Melody! Mom! Dad! Where are you?" Her voice echoed through the tall pine trees, but only silence answered back. They had been walking for about 10 minutes when they heard voices ahead on the trail. Iris's heart jumped with hope. Maybe it was her family coming back from their hike. "Do you hear that?" she whispered to Sam. "Yeah, sounds like people talking." As they got closer, Iris could make out the beam of another flashlight moving through the trees ahead of them. Then she heard a voice that made her heart stop. "Grandpa Walter, look at all these pretty rocks." "Melody!" Iris screamed, running toward the voice. "Melody!" She crashed through the underbrush, not caring about the branches that scratched her arms and face. Sam followed behind her, trying to keep up. In a small clearing ahead, 3 figures turned toward the sound of her voice. Iris's flashlight beam swept across them, and she nearly cried with relief. There was Melody, safe and sound, holding a handful of shiny rocks. Beside her stood Grandpa Walter and Grandma Rose, looking surprised but happy to see Iris. "Mommy!" Melody dropped her rocks and ran to Iris, throwing her arms around her. "What are you doing here? This is such a fun surprise!" Iris hugged her daughter so tightly that Melody squeaked. "Oh, baby, I was so scared. I thought something terrible had happened to you." Walter and Rose hurried over, their faces full of concern. "Iris, honey, what's wrong?" Rose asked. "We weren't expecting you until tomorrow when we brought Melody home." "Why? Didn't you answer your phone?" Iris asked, her voice shaking with leftover fear. "I've been calling you for hours. I was terrified." Walter pulled his phone out of his pocket and looked at it. "Oh no, the battery died. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. We had no idea you were trying to reach us. But why are you out here in the forest at night?" Iris asked. "And where's all your camping gear?" Rose smiled and put her arm around Iris. "We decided to take Melody on a special adventure. Walter wanted to show her something very important. To our family, we packed up our campsite because we're planning to spend the night at a special place." "What special place?" Iris was still confused and worried. Walter's eyes twinkled in the flashlight beam. "A place I've been coming to since I was a boy. Somewhere I brought your mother when we were dating, and somewhere I brought you when you were young. Do you remember?" Iris frowned, trying to think back. There were so many camping trips from her childhood that they all blended together. "I wanted to share it with Melody," Walter continued, "to pass on a family tradition that goes back to my own grandfather." "But it's dark and dangerous out here," Iris said. "Couldn't you have waited until morning?" "The place we're going is close." "Bye," Rose assured her, "and it's perfectly safe. Walter knows these woods like the back of his hand." Sam, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Excuse me, but where exactly are you folks headed? I know these woods pretty well too, and most of the trails can be tricky at night." Walter smiled at him. "We're going to an old cabin about a quarter-mile from here. It's been in my family for generations. Well, not exactly in our family, but it's a place that's very special to us." Iris felt her stomach twist with worry again. "An old cabin?" "We just came from an old cabin. There were signs that strange people had been living there." "Oh, that's not the same place," Walter said. "The cabin we're going to is much deeper in the woods. Very few people know about it." Melody tugged on Iris's sleeve. "Mommy, Grandpa has been telling me the most amazing stories about all the animals that used to live near the cabin, and he says there's something very special there that he wants to show me." "What kind of special thing?" Iris asked, still feeling uneasy. Walter and Rose exchanged a look that Iris couldn't quite read. "It's something that's hard to explain," Walter said slowly. "Something you have to see to understand. It's about love and memory and the way families stay connected across time." His words were beautiful, but they didn't make Iris feel any less worried. After everything that had happened tonight, the scary photo, the broken-down car, the empty campsite, the abandoned cabin with crying children, she wasn't ready to let Melody go deeper into the dark forest. "Can't you show her tomorrow in the daylight?" Iris asked. "I've been so worried, and it would make me feel better if we all went back to the campground tonight." Melody looked disappointed. "But Mommy, Grandpa says this is the perfect time to see it. He says it's more special at night." Walter nodded. She's right, Iris. What I want to show Melody is best experienced in the evening, when everything is quiet and peaceful. Iris looked around at the dark forest surrounding them. Even with her family safe beside her, she still felt nervous about whatever Walter wanted to show Melody. After the frightening evening she'd had, she wasn't sure she trusted anyone's judgment about what was safe. But Melody looked so excited, and her grandparents seemed so sure that this was the right thing to do. "What exactly are you planning to show her?" Iris asked one more time. Walter's smile was gentle but mysterious. "Something that will help her understand what it means to love someone forever, even when they're not with us anymore." His words sent a chill down Iris's spine. Combined with everything else that had happened tonight, they sounded almost threatening. But before she could ask any more questions, Melody grabbed her hand and Walter's hand. "Come on, Mommy, please come with us. I want you to see the special thing too." Iris looked at her daughter's excited face, then at her parents' kind but determined expressions. Sam stood nearby, ready to help if she needed him. She was still scared, but she couldn't bear to disappoint Melody. And maybe, just maybe, seeing this mysterious place would finally explain what she had seen in that terrifying photo. "Okay," she said finally, "but I'm coming with you. And Sam too, if he's willing." Of course," Sam said. "I'd like to see what this is all about." As the group started walking deeper into the forest together, Iris held tightly to Melody's hand. She still didn't know what Walter wanted to show them, but at least her family was safe. Soon, she hoped, all the mysteries of this frightening night would finally be solved. The group walked deeper into the forest, following Walter as he led them down a narrow path that seemed to wind between the biggest, oldest trees. Melody skipped along beside him, chattering excitedly about all the rocks and pine cones she had collected. "Are we almost there, Grandpa?" she asked for the third time. "Very close now, sweetheart," Walter said with a gentle smile. "Just around this next bend." Iris stayed close to her daughter, still feeling nervous despite the relief of finding her family safe. Sam walked beside her, his flashlight helping to light the way. "I have to admit," Sam said quietly to Iris, "I'm curious to see what this is all about. Your grandfather seems like a good man, but this whole thing is pretty mysterious." Iris nodded. "My parents have always been loving and trustworthy, but after everything that's happened tonight, I just want to understand what I saw in that photo that scared me so much." As they rounded the bend in the trail, Walter stopped in a small clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. In the center of the clearing, Iris could see several small mounds of earth, each with a simple wooden cross sticking up from it. Her heart nearly stopped. These were exactly what she had seen in Melody's selfie. The wooden crosses that had looked so frightening in the background of the photo. "Walter," she said, her voice shaking, "what is this place?" Walter turned to face his family, his eyes soft with love and memory. "This is very special to our family, Iris. I'm surprised you don't remember it." "Remember it?" Iris stared at the small graves, trying to understand. "I've never been here before in my life." "Yes, you have," Rose said gently, coming to stand beside her husband. "You were here when you were about Melody's age. We brought you here when we had to say goodbye to your first dog, Patches." Suddenly, the memory came flooding back to Iris. She had been 6 years old when Patches, a sweet golden retriever, had gotten sick and died. She remembered crying for days, not understanding why her beloved dog couldn't come home anymore. "This is..." Iris looked around the clearing with new eyes. "This is where you buried Patches?" Walter nodded. "And not just Patches. This is where our family has been laying our beloved pets to rest for over 50 years. My grandfather showed me this place when I was a boy after my first dog Rusty died." Iris walked closer to the small graves, and now she could see that each wooden cross had a name carved into it. Rusty, Patches, Whiskers, Snowball, Princess, names of all the cats, dogs, rabbits, and other pets that had been part of their family over the years. "Oh my goodness," she whispered, understanding finally dawning on her. "These aren't... It thought they were..." "What did you think they were, sweetheart?" Rose asked with concern. Iris felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "When I saw them in Melody's photo in the background behind the trees, I thought they were graves, human graves. I thought you had brought Melody somewhere dangerous, where terrible things had happened to people." Walter's eyes widened with shock, and then his face filled with sadness. "Oh, Iris, no wonder you were so frightened. You thought we would put Melody in danger?" "I'm so sorry," Iris said, tears starting to fall. "I was so scared, and I couldn't reach you on the phone, and my imagination just went to the worst possible places." Sam, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "So this is a pet cemetery for your family's animals?" "Yes," Walter said proudly. "For over 50 years, every animal that has been part of our family has found their final rest in this peaceful place. It's our way of honoring the love and joy they brought to our lives." Melody had been exploring the small graves, reading the names on each cross. "Grandpa, tell me about Rusty again. Was he really your first dog?" Walter's face lit up as he knelt down beside Melody. "He was the most wonderful dog a boy could ask for. When I was 8 years old, just like you, Rusty was my best friend. We went everywhere together." "What happened to him?" Melody asked with the innocent curiosity of a child. "He got very old and sick," Walter explained gently. "And when animals get that old and sick, sometimes they have to leave us to go to a place where they don't hurt anymore." "Like heaven?" Melody asked. "Something like that," Walter said. "But even though Rusty's body is buried here, the love we shared never dies. That's what this place is really about. Remembering that love lasts forever." Rose sat down on a fallen log near the graves. "When Walter and I got married, he brought me here to meet all the pets he had loved and lost. It was his way of sharing his whole heart with me." "And when we adopted you," Walter said to Iris, "we brought you here too, so you could understand that being part of our family meant being part of this tradition of love." Iris wiped her eyes, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. "I can't believe I forgot about this place, and I can't believe I thought you would ever put Melody in danger." "You were protecting your daughter," Rose said warmly. "That's what good mothers do. We're not upset with you for being scared." Melody had been quietly listening to the adults talk, but now she spoke up with a question that surprised everyone. "Grandpa, are you going to get me a puppy?" Walter and Rose exchanged a smile. "What makes you ask that, sweetheart?" "Well," Melody said thoughtfully, "if this is where all our family pets come to rest when they're every old and you wanted to show me this place, maybe that means I'm going to get a pet of my own someday." Walter laughed with delight. "You are a very smart little girl. And yes, your Grandma Rose and I have been talking to your mother about getting you a puppy for your next birthday." "Really?" Melody's eyes went wide with excitement. Iris looked at T. Her parents with surprise. "You have?" "We wanted to make sure you were ready for the responsibility," Rose explained. "And we wanted Melody to understand that having a pet means loving them for their whole life, even when that life ends." Walter gestured around the peaceful clearing. "This place teaches us that love doesn't end when someone we care about goes away. It just changes into memory and gratitude for the time we had together." Iris looked around at the simple graves, each one representing years of love and companionship. What had seemed so frightening in a photo now looked beautiful and sacred. "I'm sorry I panicked," she said to her parents. "I should have trusted you." "You were being a protective mother," Walter said. "But maybe this experience can teach us all something important about fear and trust." Sam, who had been respectfully quiet during the family conversation, cleared his throat. "I hate to interrupt, but I think I should mention something. Earlier tonight, when I was driving Iris here, It told her about some strange people camping in the area. I think I made her more scared than she needed to be. What strange people? Rose asked with concern. Sam looked embarrassed. Well, now that I think about it, they were probably just homeless folks trying to find a safe place to sleep. I shouldn't have made them sound dangerous. Iris realized that Sam was talking about whoever had been staying in the first cabin they found, the cabin where we heard the child crying. Probably a family with nowhere else to go, Sam said. Not dangerous, just people having a hard time. As the truth of the evening became clear, Iris felt a mixture of relief, embarrassment, and gratitude. Her worst fears had been just that. Fears, not reality. Her family was safe. The graves were a beautiful family tradition, and the dangerous strangers were probably just people who needed help. "Can we come back here again?" Melody asked, still fascinated by the pet cemetery. "Of course," Walter said. "This will always be part of your family heritage, and someday, when you have children of your own, you can bring them here too." As they prepared to leave the sacred clearing, Iris felt like she understood her family and herself better than ever before. As the family stood together in the peaceful clearing, Walter knelt down beside one of the older graves and brushed some fallen leaves away from the wooden cross. "This is Rusty's grave," he said softly to Melody. "The first dog I ever loved." Melody crouched down beside him, studying the simple cross with her grandfather's careful carving. "Tell me more about him, Grandpa." Walter's eyes grew distant with memory. "Rusty was a golden brown dog with the biggest heart you've ever seen. When I was your age, I was very sad because my parents had just gotten divorced. I felt scared and alone most of the time." "Like how I felt when Mommy and Daddy got divorced?" Melody asked quietly. Iris felt her heart squeeze. She hadn't realized that Melody still thought about the divorce so much. "Yes, sweetheart," Walter said gently. "Exactly, like that. But then my grandfather brought Rusty home for me, and suddenly I had a best friend who loved me no matter what." "What did you and Rusty do together?" Melody asked. Walter smiled, lost in the happy memories. "We went on adventures in the forest. We played fetch until we were both too tired to move. Rusty slept in my bed every night, and when I had bad dreams, he would put his head on my chest until I felt safe again." Rose sat down on the soft forest floor beside them. When Rusty got old and sick, Walter was heartbroken. He thought he would never love another dog again. "But then what happened?" Melody asked, completely absorbed in the story. "My grandfather brought me to this very spot," Walter continued. "He helped me dig Rusty's grave and make this wooden cross. And then he told me something very important." "What did he tell you?" Walter looked into Melody's curious eyes. "He said that love never really dies. When we love someone or something deeply, that love becomes part of who we are forever. Burying Rusty here wasn't about saying goodbye. It was about promising to remember the love we shared." Iris wiped away a tear. She was beginning to understand why this place was so important to her father. "And then," Rose added, "Walter's grandfather brought home a new puppy, a little black dog named Shadow." "Is Shadow buried here too?" Melody asked, looking around at the other graves. "Yes," Walter said, pointing to another cross. "And after Shadow came Princess, and after Princess came Snowball. Each pet taught me something new about love and friendship." Melody stood up and walked slowly around the small cemetery, reading each name carefully. Patches, Whiskers, Charlie, Bella. She stopped at one that looked newer than the others. "Who was Muffin?" Rose's face grew soft with love and sadness. "Muffin was our cat when your mother was growing up. A beautiful gray and white cat who loved to sleep in sunny windows." "I remember Muffin," Iris said suddenly. "She used to curl up on my bed when I was sick." "That's right," Walter said. "And when Muffin died, you were so sad that you didn't want to talk to anyone for days. Do Do you remember what happened then? Iris thought hard, trying to recall the memory. You and Mom brought me here to bury Muffin, and you told me... We told you that Muffin's love was still with you, Rose finished gently, that every time you felt comforted by warm sunshine or soft blankets, that was Muffin's way of hugging you from wherever she had gone. And it worked, Iris remembered. I felt better after that. I understood that loving Muffin hadn't been a mistake, even though it hurt when she died. Sam, who had been listening respectfully to the family stories, spoke up quietly. This is really beautiful. I've never heard of a family tradition like this. Walter turned to him with a grateful smile. Would you like to know why we do it this way? I'd be honored to hear, Sam replied. Walter gestured around the peaceful clearing. My grandfather started this tradition because he believed that love should be celebrated, not hidden. When we bury our pets here, under the stars and surrounded by nature, we're saying that their love was important enough to be remembered forever. And every year, Rose added, we come back here on a special day to tend the graves and tell stories about each pet. It's our way of keeping their memory alive. Melody had been quiet for a few minutes, thinking deeply about everything she had heard. Finally, she looked up at her grandfather with a serious expression. Grandpa, when I get my puppy, will you teach me how to love it the right way? Walter's eyes filled with tears of joy. Oh, sweetheart, you already know how to love the right way. But yes, I'll help you learn everything about taking care of a puppy. And when my puppy gets very old, will we bring him here to this special place? If that's what you want, Walter said. This cemetery will be here for as long as our family needs it. Iris watched her daughter and parents talking together, and she felt something shift inside her heart. For the past 2 years, since her divorce from David, she had been trying to be the perfect mother all by herself. She had been so afraid of making mistakes or letting Melody get hurt that she had forgotten about all the love and support she had from her own parents. Mom, Dad, she said, interrupting the conversation. I owe you an apology. What for, honey? Rose asked. For thinking you would ever put Melody in danger, for not trusting your judgment, for panicking instead of remembering how much you love us. Walter stood up and put his arms around Iris. You don't need to apologize for being a protective mother. That's your job. But I've been trying to do it all alone, Iris admitted. I've been so worried about being a single mom that I forgot I don't have to be single at anything. I have you. Both, and you love Melody just as much as I do. Rose joined the hug, wrapping her arms around both Walter and Iris. You never have to be alone in raising Melody. We're family, and family takes care of each other. Melody, not wanting to be left out, wrapped her small arms around all 3 adults. Group hug, Sam smiled at the touching family moment. I think I should probably head back to town and let you folks have your family time. Thank you so much for everything, Iris said to him. If you hadn't helped me tonight, I never would have made it here. I'm glad it worked out, Sam replied. And I'm glad to know the truth about this place. It's really something special. As Sam prepared to leave, Walter stopped him. Wait, I'd like to give you something. He pulled a small wooden cross from his backpack, identical to the ones marking the graves. I always carry extra crosses, in case we need to repair one of the older ones. But I'd like you to have this one, as a reminder that love never really dies. Sam accepted the gift with obvious emotion. Thank you. I'll treasure it. After Sam disappeared, back down the trail, the family sat together in the peaceful clearing for a while longer. Melody asked more questions about each pet, and Walter and Rose shared story after story about the animals who had brought joy to their family over the years. As they finally prepared to leave, Melody made an announcement that surprised everyone. Know what I want to name my puppy, she said. What? Iris asked. Hope, Melody said with certainty. Because this place gives me hope that love lasts forever. Walter smiled and took his granddaughter's hand. Hope is a perfect name for a puppy, and a perfect lesson for tonight. As they walked back through the dark forest together, Iris felt lighter than she had in months. She had learned something important about fear and trust, about family and love. Most importantly, she had learned that she didn't have to face the challenges of motherhood alone. Her family was bigger and stronger than she had remembered, and their love was something that would last forever, just like the love represented by the small wooden crosses in the sacred clearing behind them. The next morning, sunshine streamed through the windows of the small cabin that Walter and Rose had rented near the campground. Iris woke up on the couch feeling more rested than she had in months, despite the crazy night they'd all been through. Melody was still asleep in the cabin's bedroom with her grandparents, all three of them curled up together like a happy pile of puppies. The sight made Iris's heart warm with love. She made coffee quietly and sat on the cabin's front porch, thinking about everything that had happened. Less than 12 hours ago, she had been terrified that her family was in danger. Now she understood that they had been sharing something beautiful, a tradition that went back 3 generations. When Melody finally woke up, she bounded out to the porch with excitement. "Mommy, can we go back to the special place this morning? I want to see it in the daylight." "If Grandma and Grandpa are okay with that, I think it's a wonderful idea," Iris said, giving her daughter a good morning hug. Walter and Rose emerged from the bedroom, looking happy but tired. "Did someone mention going back to the cemetery?" Walter asked. "Melody wants to see it in the daylight," Iris explained. "That's perfect," Rose said. "There are some things there that are easier to see when the sun is shining." After breakfast, the Aiga family walked back through the forest together. The trail that had seemed soskery and mysterious in the dark now looked peaceful and inviting. Birds sang in the trees, and wildflowers grew along the path. When they reached the sacred clearing, Melody gasped with delight. "It's even more beautiful than I imagined." In the morning light, the pet cemetery looked like a garden. Wildflowers had grown around many of the graves, and the wooden crosses looked warm and welcoming instead of frightening. "Can I help take care of it?" Melody asked, kneeling down beside Rusty's grave. "Of course," Walter said. "That's part of the tradition. Each generation helps care for the pets that came before." They spent the morning working together to clean up the cemetery. Melody carefully pulled weeds from around the graves while Walter told her stories about each pet. Rose gathered wildflowers to place by the crosses, and Iris helped repair some of the older wooden markers. As they worked, Iris found herself talking about things she hadn't shared in a long time. "You know," she said, sitting down beside Rose as they arranged flowers, "I think I've been trying too hard to be perfect since the divorce." "What do you mean, honey?" Rose asked gently. "I've been so afraid of making mistakes with Melody that I've been trying to control everything, her safety, her experiences, even her relationship with you and Dad." Iris pulled up a stubborn weed. "I think I was scared that if I wasn't the perfect mother, someone might take her away from me." Rose put her arm around Iris. "Oh, sweetheart. No one could ever take Melody away from you. You're a wonderful mother." "But I panicked so badly last night," Iris said. "I saw those crosses in the photo and immediately thought the worst. I didn't trust your judgment or remember how much you love her." Walter looked up from where he was teaching Melody how to carve letters into wood. "Iris, being protective isn't a bad thing. But maybe you've been trying to protect her from the wrong things." "What do you mean?" "You've been trying to protect her from getting hurt or being disappointed," Walter explained. "But those things are part of life. What you should focus on is giving her the tools to handle difficult things when they happen." Melody, who had been listening while she worked, spoke up with the surprising wisdom that children sometimes have. "Mommy, I wasn't scared at all when you couldn't find us last night. I knew Grandma and Grandpa would keep me safe, and I knew you would come looking for me because you love me." Iris felt tears in her eyes. "You're right, baby. I was the one who was scared, not you. Sometimes grown-ups worry more than kids do," Melody said matter-of-factly. "But that's okay. Worrying means you care." Rose laughed softly. When did you get so wise, little one? Grandpa Walter has been teaching me, Melody said proudly. He says that loving someone means trusting them to be strong. Iris looked at her, father with new appreciation. You've taught her that in just one camping trip? Actually, Walter said, I think she already knew it. I just helped her put it into words. As they continued working in the peaceful cemetery, Iris began to open up about her fears as a single mother. She talked about how lonely it felt to make all the parenting decisions by herself, and how worried she was about Melody missing out on having a father figure in her daily life. You know, Rose said thoughtfully, you don't have to do everything alone. Walter and I are here, and we want to be more involved in Melody's life. I know that now, Iris said. But I guess I was afraid of being a burden, or of you thinking I couldn't handle things on my own. Walter sat down beside them, his hands dirty from working on the grave markers. Iris, when we adopted you, we didn't just become your parents for 18 years. We became your parents forever. That means we're Melody's grandparents forever too, and we want to help with everything, the fun stuff and the hard stuff. Even when I panic and drive 3 hours in the middle of the night because… I misunderstood a photo? Iris asked with a small smile. Especially then, Rose said firmly. That's what families do. We show up for each other, even when things get confusing or scary. Melody had been working quietly on something, and now she held up a small wooden cross that she had been carving with Walter's help. What's that for, sweetheart? Iris asked. It's for my future puppy, Melody announced. I want to make Hope's cross now, so it's ready when she's very, very old and needs to come here. The adults looked at each other with surprise. Melody, Rose said gently, your puppy won't need that cross for many, many years. Don't you think it's a little sad to think about that now? Melody shook her head seriously. No, Grandma. Making the cross now means I'm promising to love Hope her whole life. Even the sad parts. Grandpa Walter taught me that love means being ready for everything, not just the happy parts. Iris felt her heart swell with pride. Her daughter was learning lessons about love and commitment that many adults never figured out. You're right, she said to Melody. And you know what? I think I need to learn that lesson too. What do you mean, Mommy? I mean, I need to stop being afraid of the sad or scary parts of life and focus on loving you through all of it, the easy parts and the hard parts. Walter smiled at his daughter and granddaughter. Now you're both understanding what this place is really about. It's not about death or endings. It's about love that's big enough to include everything. As they finished their work in the cemetery, Iris felt like she was seeing her family with new eyes. Her parents weren't just helpful grandparents. They were wise teachers who had been trying to share important lessons about love and resilience. And Melody wasn't just a child who needed constant protection. She was a smart, brave little girl who was already learning how to love deeply and handle difficult emotions. I have an idea, Iris said as they prepared to leave the sacred clearing. What if we make this an annual tradition? Every year we could come back here together to take care of the cemetery and share stories. I love that idea, Walter said, and when I get Hope, she can come with us, Melody added excitedly. And maybe, Rose said with a twinkle in her eye, we could invite David to join us sometimes. I think he'd like to understand this part of Melody's family heritage. Iris felt surprised by how much she liked that idea. For the first time since the divorce, she could imagine including David in their family traditions without feeling threatened or worried. You know what? She said. I think that's exactly what we should do. As they walked back through the forest. Together, Iris felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She was still Melody's mother, and she would always protect her daughter. But now she understood that protection didn't mean doing everything alone or being afraid of every possible danger. It meant building a strong, loving family that could face anything together. On the drive home from Pine Ridge Campground, Melody couldn't stop talking about their adventure. She sat in the back seat, excitedly telling everyone about her favorite parts of the trip. And the best part, she said, bouncing in her seat, was when Mommy came to find us in the forest. It was like a real-life rescue story. Iris glanced in, the rearview mirror at her daughter's bright face. I'm just glad everyone was safe, sweetheart. Can I call Daddy and tell him about the pet cemetery? Melody asked suddenly. I want him to know about our family tradition. Iris felt her stomach flutter with nervousness. She and David hadn't talked much since the divorce, and their conversations were usually short and focused on practical things, like Melody's school schedule or doctor appointments. If you want to call him, that's fine, Iris said carefully. But remember, Daddy lives very far away, so he might be busy. But I want to tell him about Rusty and Hope and everything, Melody insisted. Walter, who was riding in the passenger seat, turned around to smile at his granddaughter. You think your daddy would love to hear about it. Family stories are meant to be shared. When they stopped for lunch at a small diner halfway home, Melody immediately asked to use Iris's phone to call her father. Iris hesitated for a moment, then realized this was exactly the kind of thing she needed to stop worrying about. Okay, baby. But remember what I told you about him being far away. Melody dialed the number carefully and waited. After a few rings, David's familiar voice came through the phone. Hello? Daddy, it's me, Melody. Melody! What a wonderful surprise. How are you, sweetheart? I'm great. I just had the most amazing adventure with Grandma Rose and Grandpa Walter, and I want to tell you everything. Iris could hear the smile in David's voice even from across the table. I'd love to hear about it. Tell me everything. For the next 15 minutes, Melody told her father about the camping trip, the pet cemetery, and the family tradition that went back to Walter's grandfather. She described each pet's grave, explained about making Hope's cross, and shared Walter's stories about love lasting forever. David listened patiently, asking questions and making encouraging sounds. When Melody finally finished her story, he said, something that surprised everyone at the table. Melody, that sounds like the most wonderful family tradition I've ever heard. Do you think Mommy would let me talk to her for a minute? Melody looked at Iris with hopeful eyes. Daddy wants to talk to you. Iris took the phone, feeling nervous but curious. Hi, David. Iris, I hope it's okay that I asked to talk to you. Melody's story was so beautiful, and I wanted to thank you for sharing something so special with her. It wasn't really my idea, Iris said honestly. My parents planned the whole thing. I actually panicked when I couldn't reach them and drove 3 hours thinking something terrible had happened. David was quiet for a moment. You drove 3 hours because you were worried about Melody? I saw something in a photo that scared me, Iris explained, feeling embarrassed. I completely overreacted. That's not overreacting, David said softly. That's being a good mother. I would have done the same thing. His words surprised Iris. During their marriage, David had often told her she worried too much about Melody's safety. Hearing him understand her protective instincts felt strange but good. David, she said, gathering her courage. Melody mentioned wanting you to be part of this tradition. I know you live far away, but if you ever wanted to visit and see the pet cemetery, really? David sounded genuinely surprised. You'd be okay with that? I think it would be good for Melody, Iris said. And honestly, after this weekend, I've realized that families are stronger when everyone is included. I would love that, David said, his voice full of emotion. I've been feeling so disconnected from Melody's daily life since I moved. This would mean the world to me. They talked for a few more minutes about possible dates for a visit. David mentioned that he had some vacation time coming up and could fly out in a few weeks. For the first time in months, their conversation felt natural and friendly instead of awkward and formal. When Iris hung up the phone, she found her parents and Melody watching her with curious expressions. How did that go? Rose asked gently. Better than I expected, Iris admitted. He wants to come visit and see the pet cemetery. And I think I want him to. That's wonderful, Walter said. Children need to feel connected to both their parents, even when those parents aren't together anymore. I know, Iris said. I think I've been so focused on proving I could handle everything alone that I forgot David is still Melody's father, and he loves her just as much as I do. Melody clapped her hands with excitement. This is the best day ever. Daddy is going to come see our special place. As they finished their lunch and got back on the road, Iris thought about how much had changed since yesterday morning. 24 hours ago, she had been a worried single mother who felt like she had to handle everything by herself. Now she was part of a family team that included her parents, her daughter, and even her ex-husband. When they got home to their apartment that evening, Iris and Melody looked through all the photos from their camping trip. The original selfie that had caused so much panic now looked completely different to Iris. Instead of seeing danger in the background, she saw love and tradition and family history. "Mom," Melody said as they sat together on the couch, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby." "When you saw those crosses in my picture, were you scared that something bad happened to him?" Iris considered how to answer honestly without frightening her daughter. "Yes, I was scared. Sometimes when we love someone very much, our imagination can make us worry about things that aren't real." "But you came to find me anyway," Melody said, "even though you were scared." "Of course I did. That's what moms do." Melody snuggled closer to Iris. "I think that makes you very brave." "Thank you, sweetheart. But you know what I learned this weekend?" "What?" "I learned that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the right thing even when you are scared. And sometimes the right thing is trusting the people who love you." Melody thought about this for a moment. "Like how I trusted Grandma and Grandpa to keep me safe, and you trusted them enough to let me go camping?" "Exactly like that," Iris said, amazed by her daughter's understanding. That night, as Iris tucked Melody into bed, her daughter had one more surprise for her. "Mom, I've been thinking about getting Hope." "What about her?" "I want to make sure I'm really ready. Taking care of a puppy is a big responsibility, and I want to do it right." Iris smiled at her daughter's maturity. "What do you think would help?" "You get ready? Maybe I could practice by helping take care of other animals first, like volunteering at the animal shelter or helping neighbors with their pets." "That's a wonderful idea," Iris said. "We could start looking into volunteer opportunities for kids your age. And maybe Daddy could help too when he comes to visit. He always loved animals." "Maybe he could," Iris agreed. As Melody drifted off to sleep, Iris sat in the living room thinking about the future. For the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful and excited about what was coming next. They would get Melody a puppy when she was ready. David would visit and become part of their family traditions. They would make annual trips to the pet cemetery and maybe create new traditions too. Most importantly, Iris had learned that she didn't have to be perfect to be a good mother. She just had to love Melody completely and build a strong family support system around her. The camping trip that had started with panic and fear had ended with understanding and new beginnings. And Iris knew that this was just the start of many more family adventures to come. 3 months later, Iris stood in the same forest clearing where her world had changed forever. But this time, everything was different. The autumn air was crisp, and golden leaves danced around the pet cemetery like nature's confetti. "Daddy, look! This is Rusty's grave, the very first one." Melody pointed excitedly to the weathered wooden cross. David knelt down beside his daughter, studying the simple marker with respect and wonder. "This is incredible, Melody. Your Grandpa Walter must have been about your age when Rusty died." "He was exactly my age," Melody said proudly. 8 years old, just like me." Walter smiled as he watched David and Melody explore the sacred space together. "It means a lot to have you here, David. This place is about family, and you're part of Melody's family." Thank you for including me, David said sincerely. I can't believe I've been missing out on something so beautiful. Iris watched her ex-husband and daughter together, feeling peaceful instead of the anxiety she used to feel about David's visits. Over the past 3 months, they had slowly rebuilt their friendship, not as a married couple, but as two people who loved the same little girl and wanted the best for her. "Oh!" Rose called out from across the clearing. "Look what I found!" She was pointing to a small pile of flowers that someone had left by one of the newer graves. "Someone else has been here recently." Sam Rodriguez stepped out from behind a large pine tree, looking a little embarrassed to be discovered. "Sorry, I hope it's okay that I'm here. I wanted to pay my respects." Sam. Iris ran over to give him a hug. "What a wonderful surprise. I've been thinking about this place ever since that night 3 months ago," Sam explained. "It just seemed right to bring some flowers and spend a few quiet minutes here." "Which grave did you visit?" Walter asked with curiosity. Sam pointed to a cross-marked Buddy. "I asked around town and learned that Buddy was a rescue dog who helped find lost hikers in these mountains. I thought he deserved some recognition." Walter's eyes filled with tears. "Buddy was my brother's dog. He saved 3 people during his lifetime. Thank you for remembering him." "I've actually been coming here once a month," Sam admitted. "This place has become important to me, too. It helps me remember my own pets who have passed away." David looked around the peaceful clearing with new understanding. This is what Melody was trying to tell me on the phone. It's not sad at all. It's hopeful. "That's exactly right," Rose said, joining the group. "Every cross here represents a life full of love and joy. We're not mourning endings. We're celebrating beginnings that led to wonderful memories." Melody had been unusually quiet during this conversation, but now she spoke up with an announcement that made everyone turn to look at her. "I have something to show everyone," she said seriously. From her backpack, she pulled out a small wooden cross that was beautifully carved and painted. Unlike the simple crosses in the cemetery, this one was decorated with colorful flowers and had a name painted in bright blue letters. "Hope." "Melody," Iris said softly. "That's beautiful. Did you make that?" "Grandpa Walter helped me," Melody said. "But I wanted it to be extra special because hope is going to be extra special too." David looked confused. "Who is Hope?" Melody grinned and looked at her grandparents. "Should we tell them?" Walter and Rose exchanged knowing smiles. "I think it's time," Walter said. "Hope," Melody announced dramatically, "is my new puppy. She's at the animal shelter right now, waiting for us to pick her up after we're done here." Iris gasped. "Really? You got the puppy approved?" "We've been planning this surprise for weeks," Rose explained. "Hope is a golden retriever mix, about 3 months old. The shelter said she's perfect for families with children. And the best part," Melody continued excitedly, "is that she's a rescue dog, just like Buddy was. She needs a family to love her, and we need a dog to love." David shook his head in amazement. "This family certainly knows how to keep secrets." "We wanted to wait until you were here," Walter explained to David. "Hope is going to be part of our whole family, including you." "Even though I live far away?" David asked. "Especially because you live far away," Melody said with 8-year-old wisdom. "Hope will help you feel connected to us even when we're apart. And when you come visit, she'll remember you." Iris felt overwhelmed with gratitude and love. 3 months ago, she had been a worried single mother trying to control everything. Now she was part of a family team that included her parents, her ex-husband, and soon a rescue puppy who would teach them all new lessons about love and responsibility. "There's one more thing," Sam said quietly. "I hope you don't mind, but I brought something too." He reached into his truck and pulled out a wooden cross that he had obviously made himself. It was rough around the edges but carved with obvious care. "This is for a dog I had when I was young," he explained. "His name was Thunder. I never had a proper place to remember him until I found this cemetery. Would it be okay if I added him to your family space? Walter stepped forward and put his hand on Sam's shoulder. Sam, you helped bring our family together on one of the scariest nights of our lives. Thunder would be honored to rest here with our family pets. As Sam placed Thunder's cross among the others, Iris realized that their family had grown in ways she never could have imagined. It wasn't just the 5 of them anymore. It included Sam and soon Hope, and probably other people and animals they hadn't even met yet. Should we take a picture? David suggested. I want to remember this moment. They gathered together in front of the pet cemetery, all 6 of them. Iris, Melody, Walter, Rose, David, and Sam. Melody held Hope's cross in her hands, representing the new family member they were about to meet. As David set up his phone camera, with a timer, Melody suddenly laughed. What's funny, sweetheart? Iris asked. I just remembered the selfie that started this whole adventure, Melody said. I was trying to show you how happy I was, but the picture scared you instead. And now look at us, Iris said, looking around at their expanded family. That scary picture led to all of this. Sometimes the things that scare us the most lead to the most beautiful discoveries, Walter said wisely. The camera timer went off, capturing a moment of pure joy and connection. In the background of their family photo, the wooden crosses stood like gentle guardians, representing decades of love and the promise of love yet to come. After the photo, they walked back to their cars together, ready to drive to the animal shelter and meet Hope. As they reached the edge of the forest, Melody turned back for one last look at the pet cemetery. Thank you, she called out to the sacred clearing, as if the animals buried there could hear her. Thank you for teaching us about love that lasts forever. Iris put her arm around her daughter, thinking about everything that had brought them to this moment. A simple selfie had revealed fears she didn't know she had, but it had also revealed love she had forgotten she possessed. Are you ready to meet Hope? She asked Melody. I'm ready for everything, Melody replied with confidence. Because now I know that love is strong enough to handle anything, even the scary parts. As they drove toward the animal shelter to meet their new family member, Iris reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The camping trip that began with panic had become a story of trust, healing, and the beautiful ways that families grow stronger through both fear and love. Soon, Hope would be running through their apartment, bringing new chaos and new joy to their lives. Eventually, years from now, Hope would join the other beloved pets in the sacred clearing. But for now, she was just beginning her story with a family who understood that love, true love, lasts forever. The circle of their family was complete, but it was also just beginning, and Iris knew that whatever adventures lay ahead, they would face them together, with hearts full of hope and hands ready to build new memories on the foundation of old wisdom. The wooden crosses in the forest clearing stood as silent witnesses to a truth that would guide their family for generations to come. Love never really dies. It just transforms into something even more beautiful. The promise to love again. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of family, love, and the power of understanding. Melody's innocent selfie taught us that sometimes our biggest fears can lead to our most beautiful discoveries. We'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Your stories and connections mean the world to us. If this tale of family bonds and lasting love touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe, you're not just joining our community, you're helping us spread kindness and meaningful stories to families everywhere. And don't go anywhere yet. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another heartwarming story that will remind you of the incredible power of love and family. Trust us, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, remember, love never really dies. It just transforms into something even more beautiful. Take care and keep spreading kindness wherever you go.